Hello, my name is Stacy. This is my channel, Stacy's Bookcase, where I like to talk about books. And today I'm going to talk about Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. This is a collection of her essays and speeches from throughout her career. Audre Lorde was a poet, a Black lesbian feminist poet. She lived from 1934 to 1992. Most of what she talks about focuses on our differences, recognizing our differences and using those to become stronger as a community. She talks a lot about women, white women and black women, the relationships between black women, as well as her experience as a lesbian within the black community. Before I begin, this isn't really a review. This is more of my experience with the book. I'm gonna go through some of my favorite quotes and then talk about them and how they made me feel. You don't need to have read these essays to share this with me. I'd really like to know what your thoughts are on some of these quotes, and if you have read it, what did you find to be the most powerful message for you in this book? I would really like to know. So the first one is from her essay, Poetry is Not a Luxury, and it goes, "The white father told us, I think, therefore I am. The black mother within each of us, the poet, whispers in our dreams, I feel, therefore I can be free." I really love the line, I feel, therefore I can be free. I think that our emotions are so critical to understanding who we are. And when we avoid our feelings or pretend that we don't feel a certain way, we're lying to ourselves and preventing ourselves from becoming stronger. But if we can recognize our feelings and understand them, then we can grow. And through that, there is a type of freedom through that, in like the freedom of self, recognizing who you are. And I really appreciate that idea. Here's another tidbit from the same essay. Sometimes we drug ourselves with dreams of new ideas. The head will save us, the brain alone will set us free. But there are no new ideas waiting in the wings to save us as women, as human. There are only old and forgotten ones, new combinations, extrapolations, and recognitions from within ourselves, along with the renewed courage to try them out. So I really love the line, sometimes we drug ourselves with dreams of new ideas. And of course she would come up with these beautiful lines because she is a poet. But it makes me think of when I used to write poems back in high school and college, before I stopped pursuing writing as a career, and I stopped writing poetry because I didn't feel like I was good enough, and it just kind of reminded me of my feelings of failure and such. But sometimes hearing certain lines, certain combinations of words remind me of that time in my life, and sometimes I love those combinations of words so much that they make me feel like I'm gonna cry. The next line is, the head will save us, the brain alone will set us free. And those things, that is something that we tell ourselves but isn't true, and if we believe it, it will drive us mad with all of the thinking. At least it drives me mad with all of the thinking. The constantly trying to think of a way out of whatever situation I'm in, whatever things are bothering me, constantly trying to think of something new to break free. But I think what Audre Lorde is trying to say here is that instead of trying to find something new, find a new solution, the answer is within ourselves, and we just have to have the courage to use it. Here's another quote. This was out of a speech that she gave in 1979. The speech titled "The Master's Tools will never dismantle the master's house. And it goes, women of today are still being called upon to stretch across the gap of male ignorance and to educate men as to our existence and our needs. This is an old and primary tool of all oppressors to keep the oppressed occupied with the master's concerns. Now we hear that it is the task of women of color to educate white women, in the face of tremendous resistance, as to our existence, our differences, our relative roles, and our joint survival. The reason I marked this section is because I think it is so important for people to realize this is a powerful form of oppression, making the oppressed be the ones to reach out and bridge the gap or educate the oppressor. Did I say that right? The oppressed reaching out to the oppressor to educate them when they're already struggling because of the positions they're in. And I think that this can apply very easily to class oppression. For example, when someone is trying to get out of a low-wage, dead-end job, but they don't have the time to seek out higher education or get a degree because they have to support themselves, but no one is willing to give them a chance without that. Or say someone is getting sued by a debt collector and they have to read a 30-page complaint and respond to it and understand it when they also have a job, a family to maintain, a house to maintain, and they're probably already struggling if they have gotten to this position where they are in debt. There are so many little ways in which people are kept where they are because it is so difficult to reach out and make change. And even if they were to reach out, would anyone listen? Would anyone listen to them? If you think you are in a position as an oppressor, or you're in a position of privilege and are benefiting from the society that you're currently in, are you waiting for someone to educate you about other people's problems? Are you reaching out? Are you seeking out the knowledge and understanding of others? As a white, heterosexual, middle-class individual, it is my responsibility to bridge that gap between myself and those that are oppressed by the system that I benefit from. Here's another quote from her essay, Eye to Eye, Black Women, Hatred, and Anger. There is a distinction I'm beginning to make in my living between pain and suffering. Pain is an event, an experience that can be recognized, named, and then used in some way in order for the experience to change and to be transformed into something else, strength or knowledge or action. Suffering, on the other hand, is the nightmare reliving of unscrutinized and unmetabolized pain. When I live through pain without recognizing it, self-consciously, I rob myself of the power that can come from using that pain, the power to fuel some movement beyond it. I condemn myself to reliving that pain over and over whenever something close triggers it, and that is suffering, a seemingly inescapable cycle. In this essay, she talks a lot about the relationships between Black women and her experience as a Black woman trying to connect with other Black women and the barriers that need to be overcome in order for those connections to be made. In this paragraph, when she talks about suffering, she describes it in such a perfect way. It just made so much sense to me, calling it a nightmare of unmetabolized and unscrutinized pain, and then stating that if we metabolize it, if we understand it and process it, we can grow stronger. This makes me think of the grief that I feel when I think about my brother who died almost 4 years ago now, and I know that I haven't metabolized that pain, and it certainly feels like a nightmare. So whenever I get triggered by something that makes me think of it. When she says that we can metabolize pain and become stronger from it, it makes me hopeful that I can take this suffering that I feel and learn from it and become stronger from it. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but I'm hopeful. And what she has said in this really, really struck a chord with me in that sense. I know that she was talking a lot about, in this particular essay, the relationships between Black women, and talking about her pain in trying to connect with other Black women and not being able to make that connection, or being blocked in some way. But what I really love about her writing and all the points that she makes is that they're so universal. Even if I haven't experienced the same things that she has, I still understand and can sympathize because I have experienced, like, there are universal feelings that we can tap into to understand another person's situation. So I feel like I can understand what she's saying because I can apply my own experiences to that and then look at it through the lens of her experiences as well. And that's something that I experienced a lot throughout this book, where she would, through her words, she would talk about universal feelings and just include everyone. It just feels like she's talking to everyone, even if she is primarily talking about the relationships between Black women, or the relationships between members of the Black community. This book was my favorite of this month, and it could be a highlight for the whole year. I think that she talks about a lot of important issues, but she also talks a lot about strength and growing from our differences, and it inspires hope. And I really, really appreciate the way that she writes. There is another book by her that I would like to pick up, Zami, Biomythography. That is something I would like to pick up sometime soon. I'm not sure when. The next time I purchase books, most likely. But anyways, let me know what your thoughts are on any of those quotes down below. What did they make you think? Were there parts of this book, if you've read it, that stood out to you the most? Like, what impacted you the most? I'm also going to leave the links for a couple other reviews for this book down below, because I think this is the kind of book that sparks conversation, and it makes sense to see what other people have to say about it. So I encourage you to watch those videos and see what everyone else has to say too. Yeah, so if you got to the end of this video, give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.